Chris Billam-Smith stood in front of the mirror, the reflection of a boxer with a fierce determination in his eyes. The sharp contrast of his past and future seemed almost palpable as he considered his next steps. He had felt the sting of defeat, the kind that cuts deep into a fighter's soul, but now he could feel something stirring within him, a fire that had reignited in the wake of his loss to Gilberto Ramirez. The memory of the night he lost the WBO and WBA titles to Ramirez was still fresh. The sound of the final bell, the feeling of exhaustion settling in as he realized he hadn't been able to mount the challenge he'd hoped for, haunted him for days after the fight. Ramirez had been superb, an undeniable force inside the ring, and Billam-Smith couldn't help but give credit where it was due. He wasn't one to shy away from defeat. Instead, he embraced the lessons it offered. And as the pain of that loss started to fade, he found clarity in his purpose. "I've learned so much from that fight," he told Sky Sports. "Gilberto was a special fighter, and it was an honor to share the ring with him. But now it's time to move forward, to rebuild and come back better. I've been training hard, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated." The determination in Billam-Smith's voice was undeniable. The defeat had been hard, yes, but it had also sharpened his focus. He wasn't looking to stay stagnant. He wasn't one to be content with simply fighting. He was hungry for the world championship again. And in his mind, there was only one way to do that: by going after the WBC cruiserweight title, a title now held by Badou Jack. The path to redemption was clear. Billam-Smith had always believed in himself, even when the odds were against him. The WBC title, held by Jack, had been the prize he was eyeing. Jack was an experienced and skilled fighter, one who had proven his worth time and again, but Billam-Smith was certain that he could take him on, that he could claim the title he so desperately wanted. "I would love to fight Badou Jack," Billam-Smith continued. "He's a tough opponent, and I know he's tied up with Ryan Rozicki for now, but I believe that fight is in the future for me. I'm ranked number 4 by the WBC, and I know I'm getting closer to that title shot." But the road ahead wasn't just about getting a shot at Jack. It was about growth. Billam-Smith had made mistakes in his previous fight, and while the loss was painful, he understood the importance of using it to fuel his progression. In boxing, there's no room for complacency. To be the best, you have to learn, adapt, and keep pushing forward. "I'll never forget that loss, but I'll use it as fuel. I'm going to come back a better fighter. I believe I can do it," Billam-Smith said. "I've got unfinished business, and I'm more determined than ever to be the best." Meanwhile, across the boxing world, another British cruiserweight was recovering from his own loss. Jack Massey had been on the receiving end of a brutal defeat at the hands of IBF champion Jai Opetaia, who had dominated the ring with ruthless precision. Massey, though beaten and battered, was never one to shy away from a challenge. His humor and determination were evident even after that crushing loss. "The positives to take from the fight? At least I can say I've got a good chin," Massey joked with a grin. "But in all seriousness, there's no shame in losing to someone as good as Opetaia. I'll be back. I'll be at that level again. I'm not going anywhere." For Massey, the loss had been a tough pill to swallow, but it had also reaffirmed his resolve. He knew the road to a world title wasn't an easy one, and though Opetaia had steamrolled through everyone in his path, Massey still believed in his own potential. It wasn't the end for him, not by a long shot. He'd take the lessons from the defeat, improve, and come back even stronger. "I'm looking forward to the fight between Opetaia and Ramirez. That's going to be a great one, but I think Opetaia has got it. He's just on a different level right now," Massey said. "But I'm not done. I've got a few fights ahead of me, and I'll be back at that level soon enough." Massey's ambitions didn't stop there, though. He had his eyes on a high-profile fight with Chris Billam-Smith. The two men had crossed paths before, many years ago in the amateur ranks, where Massey had gotten the better of Billam-Smith in the ABA National Final. But that was a long time ago. Both fighters had come a long way since then, and Massey believed that a fight with Billam-Smith would be a thrilling encounter, a battle of wills, and a chance to prove who truly deserved to be in the world title conversation. We've both grown a lot since then, and I'm confident I can beat Billam-Smith now. It's a fight I'm really excited about, Massey said. We both want to get back to the top, and that fight would make sense. Whoever wins that one, they're right in line for a world title shot. However, Billam-Smith didn't seem as eager to entertain that idea. For him, the focus was on bigger things: the WBC title, the chance to prove he belonged at the top of the cruiserweight division. To him, a fight with Massey didn't hold the same significance. Billam-Smith was looking ahead, not backward. To me, it doesn't make sense right now, Billam-Smith said. Jack's best win is Isaac Chamberlain. I've already been to the world title level, and I'm not looking to take a step backward. I want the big fights, the ones that truly matter. A fight with Jack Massey just doesn't excite me in the same way. For Billam-Smith, the journey was about reclaiming his place among the world's elite cruiserweights. While he acknowledged the talent in the British cruiserweight scene, his eyes were set on one thing: a shot at Badou Jack and the WBC title. I want to fight at the highest level, Billam-Smith said, his voice filled with determination. I want to be world champion again. That's my goal, and nothing else will get in my way. As the world of British boxing buzzed with anticipation, one thing was clear: the cruiserweight division was alive with fierce competition, and Billam-Smith was ready to make his mark once again. His journey was far from over, and the road to redemption was just beginning. The anticipation surrounding Chris Billam-Smith's comeback had reached fever pitch. With the scars of his defeat to Gilberto Ramirez now a distant memory, the fighter was laser-focused on his return to the top. The defeat had done what many thought impossible: it had sharpened his resolve, igniting a hunger deep inside him that only the taste of victory could quench. But this time, there was something more behind his determination: the weight of legacy. Billam-Smith knew that reclaiming a world title wasn't just about the belt. It was about proving to himself and to the world that he could rise from the ashes and become a champion once again. His dream was no longer a distant fantasy. It was right within his reach, and he was ready to make it a reality. The WBC cruiserweight title, now held by Badou Jack, was the jewel that glittered at the end of the road. Jack was a seasoned fighter, a man who had fought and defeated some of the best in the division, but Billam-Smith was convinced that he was the one to dethrone him. To be the best, you had to beat the best, and Billam-Smith was ready to take on the challenge. But before he could step into the ring with Jack, there was the issue of timing. Jack was currently tied up with mandatory challenger Ryan Rozicki, but Billam-Smith wasn't discouraged. He knew that his shot would come. He had the patience of a fighter who had been through the highs and lows of boxing. His number 4 ranking with the WBC meant that he was close, and all he had to do was stay sharp, stay focused, and be ready when the opportunity presented itself. I'm not waiting around for things to fall into my lap, Billam-Smith said with a steely glint in his eye. I'm going to make things happen. I'm going to train harder, learn more, and be the best version of myself when that shot comes. Training was no longer a mere routine, it had become a way of life. Billam-Smith had entered a new phase of his career, one where every punch, every round, every second in the gym mattered. He wasn't just working on his strengths, he was identifying his weaknesses and working tirelessly to overcome them. The lessons from the Ramirez fight had become his blueprint for success. He knew exactly what he needed to do to improve, and, most importantly, what he had to do to avoid the mistakes that had cost him in the past. Gilberto Ramirez was exceptional, and I don't shy away from admitting that, Billam-Smith reflected. But now I'm focused on making the changes that will make me better, stronger, and more dangerous. I've learned, and I'm going to keep learning. As the months passed, Billam-Smith's transformation was evident. His trainer, who had worked with him throughout his career, noticed a new intensity in his training. The fire that had always burned inside him was now raging, and he wasn't about to let it burn out. For Billam-Smith, the path ahead was clear. He was chasing greatness, and he wasn't going to let anything or anyone stand in his way. Meanwhile, Jack Massey's story was unfolding in a different way. His recent loss to Jai Opetaia had been a brutal reminder of the challenges that awaited him at the highest levels of boxing. Opetaia was a force, and Massey had been unable to withstand the pressure. But what many didn't see was the resilience that lay beneath the surface. Massey wasn't one to be defined by a single loss. In fact, he saw it as a necessary part of his journey, a lesson that would shape him into a better fighter. "I've taken my lumps, but I'm still standing," Massey said with a grin. "I've got a good chin, and I've got the heart of a fighter. I'm not going to let one loss define me. I'm going to come back stronger, better, and ready for the next challenge." Massey's ability to laugh in the face of adversity was what made him a dangerous opponent. He wasn't going to let setbacks keep him down. Instead, he was using them as motivation to come back and fight at the highest level once again. But what really had his mind occupied was a potential fight with Billam-Smith. The two British cruiserweights had faced off in the amateur ranks years ago, with Massey emerging victorious. But that was long before either of them had tasted the bright lights of the professional world. Now, both were on a path to redemption, both hungry for another shot at a world title. Massey believed that a fight with Billam-Smith would be the perfect opportunity to prove that he belonged at the top of the cruiserweight division. "I'm looking forward to fighting Billam-Smith," Massey said. "We've both been to the world level now, and we both want to get back there. It would be a great fight for both of us. Whoever wins would be right in line for a world title shot." Despite Massey's enthusiasm for the fight, Billam-Smith wasn't convinced. To him, a fight with Massey wasn't the step forward he was looking for. He wasn't interested in going backward in his career. He wanted to be at the forefront of the cruiserweight division, and for that, he needed to fight the best. A fight with Jack Massey, while interesting, didn't offer the same kind of challenge or the same kind of glory that Billam-Smith was chasing. "Jack Massey is a good fighter, but he's not the kind of fight I'm looking for right now," Billam-Smith explained. "I've been to the top, and I want to get back there. I want the big names, the big fights that will define my career. A fight with Massey just doesn't do it for me." As the two men continued on their separate journeys, their paths seemed destined to cross. Billam-Smith, with his eyes set firmly on the WBC title, was determined to prove that he belonged at the top. Massey, with his resolve hardening after a tough loss, was determined to show that he too was capable of fighting for a world title. Would Billam-Smith's pursuit of greatness lead him to the championship once again, or would he be forced to reckon with the rising stars of the British cruiserweight scene? And would Jack Massey's unrelenting drive push him into a showdown with Billam-Smith, a fight that could alter the trajectory of their careers forever? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: both men were willing to do whatever it took to climb to the top once again.